Why is McCain not exposing Obama for being the stealth Marxist that you are describing?
The Republicans are totally naive. They fall trap to all of the rhetoric of this movement, and they don't know. They don't have the ideological formation. They don't have the philosophical formation. They are very naive. They're thinking that they're dealing with an equal inter pares, equal.
Right. So they just think it's a Democrat that they're opposing, and he's a nice guy like them because nobody in the political structure could be anything but a nice guy like them.
And also because they don't have all this knowledge and all this information, they cannot say without being laughed out.
So McCain is exactly what he looks like, a clueless old man who doesn't even know who he's competing with.
Well, I don't want to go that way because I think he's a very strong and very courageous man.
Well, wait a minute. Sure, he's strong and courageous, but there's a lot of strong and courageous idiots out there. But if he doesn't understand who he's competing with and he insults his own base, how can he win?
Not just him. This is the whole Republican Party. They have.
Well, hey, look, Jose, you know that I know what you're talking about. They're a bunch of worthless Yalites, a bunch of worthless check pants. Look at Peggy Noonan coming out for Obama.
That's absolutely true. The Republican Party really left all of us down. We who came in from the Democratic left and moved into society had the opportunity to really turn the Republican Party into a really popular, democratic, really middle working class party. The middle class.
They wanted nothing to do with working class people, and you've touched on the raw nerve of why the Republicans may be finished forever. Because they're a bunch of racists and elitists. No matter how they try to repackage themselves, they don't like colored people, they don't like Jews, and they don't like Latinos, and you know that.
That's absolutely true, but
You know that's true. And so their own racists, their own biases are exactly why they're stuck in clueless land with a dunce like John McCain, who I voted for and who I will support because I don't want an outright Marxist to win. But that doesn't mean I don't know who John McCain is.
Well, Dr. Savage, they have left the American people like sheep without a shepherd. The American people will never be socialist because this is the only country where social mobility is such a guarantee that has the widest middle class in the world. And the American worker does not want to own the means of production. The American worker wants to work and have fun on the weekends and not have to be involved in managerial decisions. But they want the freedom to be able to move socially wherever they want to. And they have left the American people at the hands of a person and a group of people from George Soros down who their sole purpose is to destroy the middle class because it is the last bulwark of American democracy.
Listen, I could have you on for 3 hours tonight. I don't know of a better conversation than we're having. But first of all, Jose, I'm going to send you a free copy of Psychological Nudity because of all the people I've spoken with on the show, and I've spoken with some good ones, you are absolutely the best, and I think that you're probably a very famous person who we all should know. So please stay on because I have a few key questions for you. One will be, when I come back, what will be the warning signs of an absolute Marxist dictatorship in this country? What will the first thing be that will clue us that the man is as dangerous as we fear? On my website, by the way, we're the first to have it up from the Associated Press. Muslims sued over scarves in California jail settled. Take a look at this honey up there. A California county was sued by the ACLU because a jailed Muslim woman said that by taking off her headscarf, they violated her religious freedom. She just won. Take a look at this prize. Now ask yourself what's to stop the gangs from taking over the police in this country. I'll be right back.
Savage.
Many people I know and many intelligent, educated people feel as though they're living in a dream. They're saying this can't happen here. It can't happen here. It can happen here. He's just a nice multiracial guy and all he wants to do is make things more equitable. And then there are others who say, no, Michael, look at Reverend Wright. Look at Bill Ayers. Look at his rhetoric. Look at his saying that we need a civilian national security force. Look at what this man is saying and look at what's going on in this country. and then go back to Lord Acton, 1834 to 1902, a historian and moralist who said this in 1887, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men. 1-800-449-8255. Jose, welcome back to the Savage Nation. You have so many people electrified by your insights that I'm going to anoint you as our first Savage Sage. I'm creating a new group of listeners, a new cluster called Savage Sages, Jose, and I'd like you to be the first sage in that crown, because I think you have so much insight to what's going on in this country. I hope you'll accept that offer.
Oh, I am very honored, but I return the honor by thanking you, because you do not underestimate your audience, as other shows do, with the 20-second, 30 seconds get out of my line approach. I was going to answer your question about what to look for in case.
Okay, well, let me rephrase the question. If Obama wins, and if he's the Marxist you fear and I fear he is, and if the dangerous Bill Ayers, who said he wants to liquidate 25 million people, should be in his inner circle, and Reverend Wright, the white-hating, America-hating pastor, re-enters his life, and Reverend Farrakhan re-enters his life in a big way, what are the first 5 things this man will attempt to do, and how can he be stopped?
The first thing he's going to try to do is to control the Supreme Court. And if he cannot do that, he's going to try to install this so-called civilian national security force, or any kind of public service where he will take people who pay no taxes and will be working for government organizations at local and grassroots levels, at which they would be receiving a paycheck from the government, which would be nothing but what has been redistributed through the taxes from the from the middle class and the upper middle classes to pay for this organization. These organizations will also have a very well-developed re-education program about regarding what is civic involvement and what is the so-called real meaning of the Constitution.
All right, so for example, last week a guy came to my gates and rang the bell. And he rang the bell, and he kept ringing the bell, and I wouldn't answer. My dog started to bark. He wouldn't stop ringing the bell at my gates now, not my door, till I opened the door and I said, please go away, you're bothering my dogs. And he wouldn't go away. And I know he was an Obamaite. I can tell you that right off. And he said with a big smile, no, I have something important to tell you, and it's not about religion. I said, go away from my property. And he left with a smile, a big smile on his face. Is that what you're talking about, Jose?
That's one of the things that we have to look for. Look, 10 years ago, Chavez came to power exactly almost the same conditions, promising all kinds of changes. Slowly, bit by bit, now we are to a point where Chavez dared to attempt to rewrite the Constitution. Thank God that the Venezuelan people, especially the young people, know better, and he was defeated. But still, in the current Constitution, which he had something to do with, is something called the enabling laws, which gives him the power to write laws by decree. The Constitution that he wanted to impose had over 300 different articles full of government-given rights. And in this habilitating or enabling laws, he has actually passed a decree eliminating the National Constitutional Army to turn it into a political militia. Before he did...
You mean along the lines of Hitler's SA, the brown shirts, isn't that true?
Yes, but the reason he was able to do that is because he started this similar program of this National Civilian Defense Force. So he has this in place. Now he has bought 100,000 AK-47s from Russia for these National Civilian Defense Force, which is...
Let's pause right here. Will Obama try to seize guns? My answer is no. That would be too overt. These are very clever stealth Marxists. That's the last thing they're going to do, because they won't have to do it for the first 2 or 3 years. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I agree with that, but he has also said that he doesn't have to do that. He said this. He said that is up, that we do not need to do that constitutionally. You don't even have to bother with that, because at the local level, you could do it through civic ordinances and local ordinances.
You're saying seize guns through civic ordinances, and not he wouldn't even challenge it at the Supreme Court level. Jose, look, you're a savage sage. We're sending you psychological nudity. I would like to open the next hour talking with you about the next phase of this bloodbath coming to America, should your worst fears be realized. Listen.
Savage.